That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 150 of That's a Shame.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt already.
I'm Isaac.
I'm going to need so much more pizzazz than that. This is
honestly
episode
no more coming.
150.
I-
Don't make me come over there,
I
all the way
blew
over there.
the hype for 149.
No,
or
you didn't.
150 minus 1.
That was all me.
And it wasn't all obvious.
And this is all me as well. So fucking, the least you could
big
do.
episode. 150.
Episode-
50 times 3.
Episode like 143 or something.
was huge.
You started by singing Good Morning. The least you could do for the anniversary,
You want me to
for
sing
the
it again?
milestone, is just give it a bit of oomph. You know?
Oh, wow. One episode.
Isaac, you're about to embark on such an adventure.
I know, and that's what's got me worried. I'm reconsidering, the show.
As our good friend Al from Winnie the Pooh would say.
Al. It sounded like you said our good friend Al. like there's just a guy who
No,
lives
our
in
good
the
friend
100 acre
Al.
woods. All right, Al, said
Yep.
Eeyore, quite
You going on a
quite
quest?
suspiciously. See you later, mate.
Our good friend Owl.
Yeah. Wall. He calls himself Wall.
Oh.
Well, he writes it on his sign, doesn't he? He can't spell.
Yeah.
That's a central part of his character, is that he pretends to be an intellect.
Well, he is an intellect.
It says something about society, and I do mean that with a capital S, that Owl, the smartest, self-proclaimed of the commentariat in the 100 acre wood,
Yes.
can't even write the word owl without spelling it wall.
Well, we do live in a society.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
And so do they.
Yeah.
It's just a smaller one.
Just smaller and less wooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, theirs
No,
is
the other
more
way
wooded.
around, yeah. So here we are anyway, big episode, I'm sure. I'm trepidatious about the whole thing, I have to be honest. Because you've been locked away in your mind, I suppose. Mulling
I
over
always.
quite a good deal of content for today. Tell me about that.
Well, it's been quite
Spiritual.
the quest, quite the journey.
Okay, and you say that you've done a little head inflection when you say that. Is that
Yeah.
because there's any
No,
particular
that's like a sort of curtsy, like a little...
dipping your hat
Yeah.
to...
Well, it's because
Joseph
what
Campbell.
I've got for you today is
For
a
us.
piece of OC, some
Yeah.
original content,
Nice.
in the form of a choose your own adventure.
Koya.
No.
Yeah.
No, nobody says that. I actually checked with the Choose Your Own Adventure community,
And they
said
they've rejected.
if anyone says that, just knock that
Strike
out of
them
them
off.
straight away. Well, I thought about these after we did some of the Harry Potter stuff, and I was thinking I was trying to find a Harry Potter based sort of fanfic Choose Your Own Adventure kind of thing, but the ones that I found were either obscenely terrible.
Oh, that surprises me.
or-
fan written, and they were bad.
Yeah,
Weird.
It's
I guess
not a
there's
crossover
always-
you get often, but
Yeah, there's always anomalies.
or they were so long that it was just an unimaginable task.
We'd
They
have
were
to
like,
start
"Oh,
a new
hey guys, so this
podcast."
it's not a long one, just 80,000 pages on this one that you can go through. It should take you about 17 to 20 hours." And I was like,
I feel like you really have to trust the author of a Choose Your Own Adventure as well, because of the fact that there's branching narratives and one person isn't intended to see them all. Some of them you've got to know they've phoned in. So there's going to be in that Harry Potter one.
I'd just like to confirm
That you have-
that is true.
I like the idea that in the Harry Potter one, you could, if you made a series of what the author considers wrong choices, you spend the whole rest of the 12-hour experience helping Hagrid do his tax return or something.
I've actually found a very cheeky way to avoid phoning them in.
Innovated within the
I have.
the community,
And I will be, I suppose,
will
receiving
find
some
this.
sort of award, if not from you, then from them.
Yeah.
Or both. You could do it together. You could do them separately. I
I'll
suppose I'd
contact-
like separate
I'll
awards.
contact them and see.
Because then I've got more than the one. So I've done a little innovation, which
Yep.
I'll be upfront about. as soon as you spot it, maybe three choices in, or if not, at the very end for the.
We'll do a little
listeners.
like ooh, intervention siren, just so people know.
Exactly.
That'll be a little peek behind the curtains. We so often like to grant.
That is good.
Yeah.
So, would you like to begin?
I wouldn't, but I will.
But here we
Yeah.
go. Now you know how I feel every time you come with content.
That's really not
Now you know
true.
how I feel when you force me
Desperately
head
false.
first into the Imagiporium.
Kicking and screaming like a reverse birth canal.
Now, most Choose Your Adventures seem to have something of a generalised goal.
Yes.
Whether it's to reach somewhere,
Save
to
something.
become something, to save something.
If it's the Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventures, they were every one of them was about leaving a swamp.
well,
So
that's the classic.
I assume you have referenced.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be what you
well,
have
if
to
not,
see.
maybe just drop it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goal here is for you.
Can you? I want to be in the narrative. So if you could maybe turn away and come back, and then you are the wizard of audio or
Sure,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever your role is. But I want it to be in character now. I don't want us to be outside of this extra narrative affair. Da da dum.
Your quest.
Sounds a lot like you.
Should you choose to accept it?
Yeah. No accent or anything.
No, I'm not doing a fucking accent.
Disappointing.
I've got hundreds of words to
Okay.
read. I'm not doing a fucking accent. Your quest. Should
Traveller.
you choose to
Call me
accept
Traveller or something cool.
No, you're known as you.
Okay.
Yeah. Is to create
Yep.
the most successful podcast
I've done that.
in the world.
We're doing it now, pal. Game over.
you're already really committed to the fantasy element. I see.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Okay.
Settle down,
We'll
prepare
have to
your
kill
mind,
Sarah Koenig.
and be as strong
Yep.
in mind, body, and soul.
As an ox.
Well, even more so. Like I was going to say, as possible.
Strong like lion. Yeah.
Okay. 1.1. You are sat in the living room
Whoa.
of your mother's house,
Okay.
and there is a microphone sat atop a coffee table just in front of you.
Uh-huh.
You know that it demands something from you. Some words, most likely.
Yeah.
Spoken from your mouth and recorded by its mechanical gizzards.
Yep. Seems
Your
fair.
laptop balances on the arm of your chair, the cursor hanging tantalizingly above the small red record button. There is no schedule, there is no expectation, and there is no plan. And yet you cannot help but feel pressed by some invisible urgency.
God.
You know that now is the time, and the time is now.
Now. Yeah.
Without hesitation, you reach across to the trackpad and you click.
Okay, I choose not to do that.
Oh, no, you can't.
Oh, okay.
You've
I
already
just
done
wanted
that.
to, I wanted
That's
to test the
don't worry.
parameters of choice.
It's only now that you look up properly, and sat across from you is one of your insert accurate but flattering adjective friends. Oh,
Ginger.
yeah. You think. Oh, yeah, you think. That's right. We're doing this together.
Uh-huh.
You're slightly heartened by this realization, but also a little anxious. More people means less control. And it also means your actions have consequences beyond yourself.
Uh-oh.
Something you like to avoid at all costs.
Oh, true enough.
You study their face more closely and you see that they are looking at you with a mixture of confusion and disbelief. They gesture to your laptop and you remember that the tape is rolling.
Fuck.
You have nothing prepared. You don't want to be responsible for the opening words.
Uh-huh.
It's live, you whisper. Well, your partner sputters. This is it. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Untitled Podcast. Do you, A, proceed with no plan at all,
Yep.
go to 2.1,
Uh-huh.
or B, stop the recording and decide what the hell you're going to do, 2.2?
I'm a serious kind of guy.
Yeah.
And with that severity
Mm-hmm.
comes a great respect for order,
Yeah.
for the confluence of events, sure, but only in as much as they can be funneled into a precise trajectory.
You're not a man to do things slapdash.
Absolutely not. I've often said that improv is the death of all of good art,
Of everyone.
of good fun. and
Improv
certainly
is
of
genocide,
good
you're always
shows.
saying.
And for that reason, it's mics are off. We abort that first failed attempt, send it into the audio hell, and really get down to planning.
Okay.
Because we respect our listeners, I assume, in this fictional...
You and your partner
whoever
in this.
they would be. Yeah.
So 2.2, you lean over and stop the recording. But as you look up, you see the look of anxiety in your co-host's eyes. You've made them feel like all this was their fault and that they've already ruined the entire
This is
venture.
a great choice.
You consider keeping the recording off, but decide to spare their feelings instead, faking a cough, winking at them reassuringly, and resuming the recording. Go to 2.1.
Oh, I got shunted to 2.1.
got shunted.
So is that the game's way of saying that I was so correct, that I was kind of too correct for the game?
It's a way of you realizing that your character is a moral one. It's a teaching early on. You wanted to do the good thing, but in so doing, you realized you might have hurt someone's feelings, and so you took the brunt of that.
They say you can't make a good pod without breaking a few eggs.
Exactly.
No, but I'm saying that was one of the eggs I wanted to break.
No, you can't.
In my choose my own adventure.
But part of that is you adapting to the character that you're inhabiting.
Okay, but if it did say my adventure.
Yeah, it's your adventure.
Through the lens of
you get to choose, but you only get certain choices.
Okay.
Otherwise, you might as well write the fucking book yourself, you cunt. 2.1. Oh no! You proceeded with no plan at all. And you've ended up making a joke about the Hillsborough disaster within the first 10 minutes of your pilot episode.
What an error!
In so doing, you've disgraced one of your dozen or so adopted hometowns and made a mockery of the 96 lives which were senselessly lost that day due to a combination of negligent homicide and outright corruption by the police and the Thatcher government. With all your principles erased so early on, do you A, soldier on regardless, the measure of a man is his willingness to abuse the fallen, 3.1, or B, pack the whole thing in and play another 7 hours of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed? Audio clearly is not your medium.
It would, at that point, if that had happened, then I think one would be given pause to realise perhaps I'm too volatile a personality to put that out there.
Yeah.
People won't understand what's going on. They'll strip away the context, and if it hasn't already, this audio will ultimately be used for a big cancellation. It's got to be the second option.
You're going to pack the whole thing in?
We pack it in. I'll apologise to my co-host, and we go back to what it was. Safe, cosy, no Hillsborough jokes.
Exactly. 3.2 it is.
Wasn't a joke as well, I seem to remember. It was a mistake.
I see. What do you mean you remember?
No, I remember from when you read it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Together you make the executive decision to pack the whole thing in and just play Sonic for the rest of the day. It's a fun game, for sure, but as the hours pass, you both begin to feel a little defeated. You've always thought of yourselves as creative minds, and yet you've fallen at such an early hurdle.
Yeah.
Each of you secretly wants to get back to it, but neither of you is willing to risk the other's rejection. You sit in silence and perform endless laps of that fucking traffic level. Jesus Christ, it's a real cunt of a game sometimes. And don't ever speak of the podcast again. In fact, once your partner leaves for his home, the two of you barely speak again at all.
Oh, no.
Each of you goes on to live separate, unspectacular lives, dying in mediocrity and anonymity, desperately unhappy and alone.
Wow.
Maybe you should have carried on.
Maybe, but they say you've made your bed, now you have to lie in it.
Go to 3.1.
How's that?
Well,
because I thought I was dead.
Well, you are.
Right, so that's game over.
No, it's a common feature of these books that you will die in a lot of these.
I can start again.
So you've got to go back.
From the beginning.
Go back to your last point.
Okay, like a checkpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
God, who'd have thought, though, that it would have spiralled out of control so quickly?
It's mad, but it shows you it's like the chaos effect, isn't it?
And it's a kind of tacit approval and legitimizing of any kind of flippant Hillsborough remarks that have been made.
Yeah, well,
which I think is something you might want to reflect on as the author.
It's more a way that...
Because as someone who's from the Northwest, I find it very offensive.
I thought you were French.
Yeah, half
Slash
French,
from
half
Kent,
French.
slash...
No, I'm not from Kent.
Slash all over the North. Well, I think that it's more a sense that you should seek to atone. You can't just say that and then quit. Otherwise, you've just thrown that negative energy out there.
Without anything to counteract it. No follow through.
Yeah.
Okay.
3.1. You decide to keep going, and this is a powerful move. Already in your pilot episode, you've made it clear this show isn't for everyone. For those willing to stick around, it's going to be one hell of a ride. You finish the recording and go upstairs to prepare it for release. With the whole thing ready to go, you realise that you don't have any intro music.
Yeah.
You're a pretty melodic pair, and you really feel like the quality of the musical opener could make or break the entire enterprise.
True.
Do you A, sit down at the piano and pen a little something that reflects the admittedly weak and garbled image of the show, 4.3, or B, quickly flick through your mate's back catalogue and pick the first rights-free piece that sounds vaguely suitable?
It'd be
4.4.
It'd be 4.3 because the character I'm playing here is profoundly creative and loves to channel the energy of God into the finger joints and through those fingers into the keys.
Yeah.
And through those keys into the hearts and minds of the listener.
That is good of you.
Yeah.
4.3. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
4.3. As ever, with the two of you, the songwriting process is an absolute disaster.
Oh.
Not only can you not pick a style and stick with it, neither of you has the faintest idea what the show is supposed to be about. So the lyrics are largely vague tiptoes around saying anything of meaning whatsoever.
Sounds about
It's
right.
deep into the night before you finish, and when you listen back to the final product in the morning, it sounds like the result of the world's worst parlour game. You decide to scrap it and choose something that already exists.
Okay, I suppose that would be easier, but I reckon
Go to 4.4.
that was a good one because the experience that you will have grown from that
Exactly.
as an artist.
Yeah, if I'd had longer, there'd be like an EXP meter. That would be
yeah.
that would be a tick on that.
That's for 250.
4.4. Your friend sure is a talented musician.
Yeah.
A little too talented, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a bit
because all of the
despicable.
music available is way too complex for a little opening jingle.
Yeah.
And then you find it. The perfect song. An upbeat jazz cover of a celebrated film classic. It's simple, it's catchy,
Yeah.
and it's very, very you.
Oh, it is very me.
You edit it accordingly and publish your first episode with something adjacent to pride. Over the next few days, you anxiously watch the view counter as it slowly rises. The inbox remains empty, but it seems you've had nearly 24 downloads already, which is promising.
Mad.
You're not scheduled to have another episode for a whole week, but you're both itching to turn the mic back on
So much to
and
say.
get recording again.
Yeah, it's a problem I have a lot.
Do you, A, pace yourselves? You're not exactly brimming with content, so it might be wise to hold off for now. Go to 5.5. Or B, get straight back in the studio and smash out another 50 minutes of God knows what. Go to 5.6.
Gotta harness that. You gotta ride the wave. 5.6.
Gotta ride the wave. We're going to 5.6.
Yeah.
5.6.
Maybe there's another disaster to make light of.
Your second recording goes a lot smoother than the first.
That's good
And
to
you're
know.
already finding your feet on the mic. You put your first episode out immediately, and your download numbers continue to grow, encouragingly. Your partner has to leave for home, but they're quickly in touch a couple days later to say that you need to record at once. They have an incredible story to tell.
Wow.
Do you, A, do it? Momentum is building and you can't look a content horse in the mouth. Or B, politely decline. You need to have some boundaries with recording and some discipline in your approach. Save the material for later.
Yeah. That really speaks to me because I don't think at this early stage in what sounds like a burgeoning creative relationship, I don't think my character would want to encourage the agency on the part of my sub-host to come to me with content ideas. It's fine to pitch, but I'll say, put it in an email.
I see.
I'll say, put it in a tweet.
So
I'll say, hit me up on Snapchat.
I see. So already, even though you've only ever been described as co-hosts, you've taken upon yourself a sort of host prime sort of role.
Sometimes these things are thrust upon us, yeah.
Right,
And it
I
did
see.
say, like, maybe if my co-hosts were choosing their own adventure, they'd be able to tip the balance more in their favour. But as it happens, it's sounding like a very Isaac-dominated project from a creative perspective.
Now, I don't... Look, you're a fine actor.
Yeah.
That's...
Goes without saying.
We've mentioned
Watch
that
this.
more than...
What emotion was that?
Oh, guys,
All of
it
them.
was a big play where he was both weeping with joy and sadness.
And
he
just
was
vibrating
furious.
around.
You couldn't hear it though because he was also doing solemnity.
Yeah, and I was doing mine.
However,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm worried that you're not getting into the character here. I mean, in a
far
choose your own
from it.
in a choose your own adventure,
Uh-huh.
obviously it's not always just you thrown in, even though it would be written in the second person.
Yeah.
Often you're taking the place of a knight or a wizard, which you are neither.
Well,
And you have to embody that. And in that embodiment, it means
Wizard-esque.
that you have to think about what the character would do.
Yeah,
Not
and
necessarily what you definitely would do
I
if
wouldn't
you'd
do
had
that.
free reign.
No, I wouldn't. You see, that's where I think
Because
you're
earlier on,
confused, is that I've diverged.
You were
rapidly.
given like an opportunity with your first choice
Uh-huh.
to make your co-host feel like shit, and you took it. And the
Yeah,
story,
and in real
the
life,
story
I wouldn't do
told
that,
you,
would I?
the story told you that wasn't what your character's supposed
The
to be about.
story is coming
I'm
across as a bit
I'm
of
not
a
trying to
preachy
influence your
bitch.
choices here. I'm
To be
just
honest.
saying that
It's like
maybe
fucking
I'm just saying
Chaucer
maybe you
having
might
a
want to
go at
look
women.
at you might want to look at your own lack of imagination in this.
Oh, that's interesting.
You're just making some snap decisions rather than necessarily thinking.
They say
it
go with
through.
your gut, don't you? Because the gut
I
knows
don't,
best.
because I don't think that.
Think gutwards
No.
is what I've always been taught. I hear what you're saying. I don't want you to think that. I'm not going to minimise it. And far be it from me to
No, well, no.
to speak to that experience that you brought to the table.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
but
yeah.
hear me out. Isaac in real life would obviously he'd be raring to go. Wow, so glad to hear your enthusiasm. He would say, kindly as well. You'd notice a real kindness behind the eyes as he invited with open arms the content of his co-host to the table.
Okay.
At which they both feast upon audio.
Yeah.
But in this story, I was thinking the character that I'm playing on the kind of infamous two good and evil spectrum is more towards the lightning powers, and he's kind of ruthless. He's out for himself at the end of the day. So that's why I made that decision. Just to keep you up to speed.
So you're choosing option B. You're going to 6.2.
Yeah.
Okay. Your partner is a little disappointed not to share the story with the listeners just yet, but you both agree this is probably for the best.
Yeah.
When it eventually goes out of the weekend, the episode is a huge success, and your numbers continue to grow.
That's really good to hear. I made the right choice.
After a few more positive weeks, you decide it's time to expand the family, so you invite a close friend to appear on the show. All three of you have a great time, and the episode is, again, well received.
That's nice.
Maybe, you think, there's something good here. Maybe we should have guests on more often.
Okay.
Do you, A, declare to the listeners that you're going to secure several guests in the upcoming weeks and will seek to have a consistent roster of new voices? 7.3. Or B, park that idea for now and maybe just have guests on as and when the time seems right. You don't want to disrupt the core dynamic just yet. 7.4.
That's difficult because this is a question that's at the core of all audio. Is that like the hosts want to broaden the sphere because they know what they're like, they know what the dynamic is already, but you need to allow enough time for those seeds to sow in the reader's ears.
And it's also quite uncanny, isn't it? Because it's similar to a quandary we've had where we've wanted to we had sort of some guests early on and we were going to
I suppose
get some
I
more,
suppose
but
you
then
could draw that
we wanted
parallel.
some more, but then we don't. Yeah, so it's weird, and we've sort of gone one route.
I think we declare that it's open season and everyone's fair game. We'd start getting people on without them even knowing they were taking part in the show.
Okay,
Just putting mics around town.
so we're going to declare to the listeners we're going to secure several guests.
Yeah, I love that verb, declaring. I think
Yeah.
that's really in my character's interest to be declarative
Exactly.
from a kind of pulpit.
So we're going to 7.3. God damn it. You weren't wrong about guests being popular, But boy, were you wrong about your ability to secure them.
Oh,
Not only is your show so new and frankly terrible that not a single recognisable name wants anything to do with you, you're also the least organised pair of divs ever to attempt such a venture.
oh, that's bad luck.
Your average guest rate for the rest of your show's run is 1 in every 37 and a half episodes. Not exactly great.
Very specific.
Yeah, weird. In fact, people get so sick of your false promises that they stop listening altogether. Well fucking done.
Oh no.
Go to 7.4.
Okay. So I guess this was an under promise, over deliver
Exactly.
situation.
No, opposite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 7.4. Probably a wise decision on your part.
Thank you.
Best to play these things by ear when you're
That's
not
what I
known
thought.
for your administrative
Yeah.
enthusiasm. Thankfully, even without guests, the show goes from strength to strength.
Nice.
You have a dedicated listenership now, and you're even starting to get interactions via Twitter and
That's
email,
crazy, isn't
which was largely unprecedented. You're running into a problem, though. Most of your truly popular episodes are ones that involve some sort of travelling, or at the very least some expenses you can ill afford.
Oh God.
Your partner suggests that maybe you should think about starting up a Patreon to earn a little extra money.
Oh.
Do you, A, wholeheartedly agree, let's take those suckers for everything they're worth,
Okay.
go to 8.1, or B, slow down there, Nelly, let's not get ahead of ourselves, we don't want to squander this good grace by scrounging.
Yeah, my
Go to
character's
8.2.
relentlessly sensible, and at the same time really respects that people. It's a hard word out there for all of us, for you, for me, for these imaginary folk, and their imaginary listeners. And I think that this version of Isaac, the Choose Your Own Isaac, would be reticent to even ask, because there's a certain violence in it that I just don't think sits well with
Right.
me.
Okay.
And I would never do that.
A certain presumption
Absolutely.
on his
that-
part.
Saying that you're rambling into not even a professional microphone has some kind of financial fungible value is obviously a great and arrogant proposition.
Probably only 30, 40 episodes after the Great Hillsborough scandal as well.
Mad.
And so to think that people have forgotten that already
It's crazy.
and
isn't
are
it?
going to want to be associated with that in any kind
Yeah.
of monetary, financial sense.
And
does
obviously
seem-
this is a fictional thing, and all of
Well, yeah.
all of the things you're saying, like the hill, that's all fictional.
Well, that wouldn't have happened,
That
would
wouldn't.
it? Because you wouldn't get this far after,
No.
after something like that.
No, not a chance.
No. Okay, so 8.2.
Please.
Womp womp.
Oh,
Looks like you hugely underestimated the generosity of your audience, and you've missed out on several hundreds of dollars which you desperately need.
fuck.
After the NHS refuses to believe your British citizenship and residence, they slap you with a £500 bill for vitamin D and kidney stone consultations.
God, you're joking. It'd be
Unable-
about 15 grand.
Unable to pay, you're taken to the great big prison,
NHS
where you're
jail.
killed in the crossfire of a gang war.
Oh,
Bad luck.
they sent me to Storm Area 51. My Naruto run wasn't deep enough.
You didn't
I
get the
couldn't get a
speed.
lunge. Ah!
Do
That
you want
is
to tell the
unfortunate.
listeners what that's about?
Well, that's an interesting
It's
one. That's the first time that
it's a kind of weird
I-
crossover.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the first one
But
I've noticed.
it's maybe it's like what they say about like subconscious, write what you know.
Yeah,
it just
and
sort of
what you
came
know
to
is
me.
that I got a letter from
organic.
the NHS asking, nay, demanding. It was called Second Request, and it was the first letter I'd received demanding to know.
And as well, we
Yeah.
should specify it was not just the first letter you'd received; it
Yeah.
was the first letter they'd sent as
Oh,
well.
yes, that's true. I did clarify that later with a very confusing lady on the phone who just seemed to think that was totally
but,
normal.
Confusing but honest.
Yeah, I was like, why did that get sent out? And she was like, honestly, no one knows. Okay, good. But anyway, they're fine now. They've understood that I'm deeply. They used the phrase deeply British.
Yeah, they were
A patriot.
trying to say that you were some sort of foreigner.
And that therefore I had to pay for these kidneys that cost me every minute of joy.
Yeah, and I quite. It's quite frightening, but also quite.
Arousing.
Well, yes, to
Yeah.
think that the
Emotional.
NHS, the health service, is running a scam where they tell you this is the second letter you've received
good, isn't it?
when it's the first one they've sent, just to put the pressure on.
There's a good bit on the phone call where she was like, so what address what address are you at? And I said, read our address out. And she was like, that's the one we've got, yeah. I said, so where did the first one get sent? And she said, well, it would have been there. It's like, what do you mean would have been? Well,
It would have been there if there was
if
one.
there was one, but we don't make that sort of letter.
Oh, yeah, that's a shame. What
That's a
about
shame.
all this stuff? It's it came into the news all very quickly and then affected
Baby
our
P.
lives.
Did you mean?
No, I didn't mean Baby P.
Oh, I thought that's where you were going.
Why? What about what had just happened made you think
Because
of
of the
that?
NHS scandal.
This is Hillsborough all over
Oh,
again.
Christ.
No, of charges in the NHS.
Oh, yeah.
Weird how we've got like a sort of Tory election coming up.
Uh-huh.
And both of them are
Great
very
options.
ready and willing to sell it off at a moment's notice.
Well, that's
and
in
then
the national interest.
And then over the last month, our lives
Yeah.
and the news have been sort of just lightly peppered with this idea of, you pay for things on the NHS.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to
Of course
gaslight us
we
into
do.
thinking
We've
that we
always
do.
have.
There was the photo of someone in like Guernsey, was it? Who was like in the A&E there.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, if you need to see a doctor straight away, it's 1,500 quid, which I understand from the capitalist perspective, but also from just a moral perspective, it does seem wrong to have a medical system where you're charged more the more
urgency.
urgently that you need the help.
It's an amazing scheme, isn't
Well,
it?
exactly.
To have an ambulance that has like a coin slot on the outside.
Yeah,
that you
sorry,
have to
lads.
fill up before the door will open.
But then there was one this week that was cartoonishly horrible.
Okay.
Almost in a way that it feels like something that you would set up as a false flag.
It's a false flag
Yeah.
from the left, yeah.
Yeah, of about fees for people who aren't British residents,
Uh-huh.
and they were a European couple, but their
European
Health Insurance card had run out, and the wife had a miscarriage,
Uh-huh.
and the NHS would not give them the baby until they handed over 500 quid,
Wow, okay.
which they didn't have.
Yeah.
So that was it. Tough luck.
That was the end of the story.
That was it.
At
Like
that
they
point.
didn't get it.
And that wasn't a choose your own adventure.
That
where they
wasn't
were
a,
like,
where you're like,
back to-
oh no,
back
it's,
to insemination.
It's okay. No, it was that was very much
That was
the
the end of
final
the story.
instalment, and that was it.
Well, that's much worse because,
Well, exactly,
unlike
yeah.
this story, they didn't have the option of a do-over.
No.
because they had
And-
been scammed by
And unlike this story, the 500 quid was a real
it was
charge
real
that they were
for
for something.
a baby that they made.
Yeah,
that
for
had-
perhaps the most unimaginably horrible situation
Yeah.
you have to go. It's weird.
It's weird that you'd pay for that. I suppose.
It's
I've
weird
never
that
thought of.
it's weird that you would, as a doctor, say no.
I've
Give
put
me
it
some
in this
money
safe, and it will only unlock with,
until.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good system though.
It is. It's a good system.
It is probably a good system.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, Jeremy Hunt, next Prime Minister, he knows what he's doing in Medicare.
He'll up it to £1,000.
Yeah, easy.
Exactly.
First day.
So you've been told to go to 8.1.
Yep.
Against all the odds, and very much contrary to what you deserve, it turns out that you were right to start the Patreon. Your core listenership is exceedingly generous, and their monthly contributions, even in spite of your continued failure to produce the promised extra content, begins to accrue in the background.
Crazy.
However, it can't just sit there. You feel obligated to use the funds for the good of the show.
Yeah.
So you book tickets to Alton Towers. The only problem is
I've been there.
that it's quite a way away. So you have to book an Airbnb in order to make the trip possible. You find one in a small town called Bloxwich.
Blocks.
It's extremely cheap, and the owner appears to be a therapist offering sessions. You both reckon this sounds hilarious and are tempted to book it. Do you A. Go for it. This is going to make for some hilarious content. What could go wrong? Go to 9.5. Or, maybe let's book somewhere else. It could be funny, but that price seems an awful lot like bait. Go to 9.6.
Wow, yeah. Well, this is an interesting one to come up because I've personally had a bad experience with Airbnb, and I would probably, I was going to say I'd avoid using them, but I'm going to stay in an Airbnb in about a month. So good luck, good luck me. I think I would be sensible, and I'd say maybe we bring a tent. I love the outdoors, you know me.
Yeah,
I
you're
love to
always on about
camp. I love to be in a field. The dirtier and more pollen filled, the better. I always say.
Yeah.
far from internet if possible. I don't want any
You don't.
Wi-Fi.
No, well, you don't. Why
I don't
would you
want
want
any radiation.
that? Because it's like, look at this, not a phone in sight, just people
Yeah,
enjoying
like,
the
why
moment.
gild the lily?
Yeah.
This is all that there is.
Come on,
Grass.
this mud,
Dung.
this mud on which
Cow
I am
mucus.
sleeping.
Yeah.
Come on.
So it'd be that one.
9.6.
Yeah.
What a bunch of pussies. It's just a fucking room. How come you're so chicken?
Wow.
Anyway, it turns out there's a massive Midlands festival that week, and every
Oh,
other room
Midsfest.
within 100 miles is booked. You end up not going to the park and disappointing the listeners. Moreover, they also assume you're just pocketing the Patreon money instead of using it for the show.
Yeah.
And everyone simultaneously cancels their subscriptions. The backlash causes such a stir in the podcasting community that it ends with you being hounded off of every platform and even having to change your identities for your own safety.
Wow.
This wouldn't have happened if either of you had some balls.
That's crazy.
Go to 9.5.
It's just amazing to see how things can escalate, and it's a real reminder that, like you say, every
At
decision
any
you
moment
make cascades
could be your
into
last.
an absolute deluge of attacks.
9.5.
Yep.
The day at Alton Towers is a resounding success. And though your partner is chafing to a nuclear extent, the two of you are in high spirits as you head to your destination. I'll be honest, there's a lot going on once you get there, and by midnight you're about fixing to leave the place altogether. Your host is not the kindly lady you were expecting, but is, instead, an enormous man who is built like a brick shithouse with a voice to match. After a terrifying interaction on the landing, he proceeds to change your co-host's bedding whilst he is, and I cannot stress this enough, already in it, dressed only in pants. After a mumbled conversation on their end, you hear the man coming towards your room. He asks if you have a key, and as soon as you have shown it to him, he snatches it from your hand and bids you goodnight.
That'd be mental.
It's not looking promising.
Nah.
Do you A, stick around? You're tired, and this could all just be some sort of Brummy custom of making your guests feel as mortally unsafe as is humanly possible.
That's what they do at Cadbury World.
Nobody actually gets hurt in these places. Go to 10.1.
Uh-huh.
Or get the fuck out of Dodge and pronto. 10.2.
I've been trying to reflect on what you taught me about letting the story teach its own messages, its own morals. And in the last one, we were punished for cowardice. So I think this time it's a question of keeping a clear head. Each of these things on paper looks like a bizarre violation of ordinary and safe custom. But taken together, maybe they just paint a picture of a confused, ultimately endearing, giant terrorist man.
Yeah.
Who we should respect and welcome into the fold. Maybe have him guest on the show.
That's some good use of your kind of like prior experiences in the story.
I really have been reflecting hardcore.
We're going to stick around. Go to 10.1. 10.1. You are obviously fucked to death.
No!
Go to 10.2.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. So I guess the moral there is that the story
Don't make the
shifts.
same mistake twice.
Yeah, or maybe don't listen to the story and just go your own way. Yeah.
Choose your own adventure.
I suppose. Wow, it truly was a choose your own. Okay.
You can't be sure, but you have a funny feeling this decision has saved your lives. And as your co-host drives you home in fits and starts, you begin to formulate a plan. What just happened to you was a singularly horrible experience, but that's no reason to write it off. This, you realise, could be your ticket to the big leagues.
Wow.
While your co-host takes a well-deserved nap, you take a couple of hours to tweet out your story in what is ultimately a 67 installment thread.
Goodness me.
At this point, your phone dies. You make it home by 8 a.m, pop your phone on charge, and go to sleep. In the afternoon, you awake to find your thread has gone viral.
Yes.
And media outlets are all vying for an exclusive interview with the pair who escaped such certain death.
The Block Switch Boys, they'd call them.
Do you, A, accept? Yes, please, you reply eagerly to every Tom, Dick and Harry who wants 10 minutes of your time. For once, everything's coming up, Isaac.
Wow.
Go to 11.3. Or B, decline. You can't be sure how safe it would be to tell this story any more publicly, and you're aware that fast fame can be a fickle bitch sometimes. Go to 11.4.
Well, in the last one, I was taught that trusting your instincts was good, and that prudence was going to win the day. But I think this time, on the high of escaping from murder is the ultimate adrenaline rush, isn't it? It's a thrill seeker's delight. I think we'd be wanting to keep that going with the adrenaline still coursing through our veins and become media whores, the likes of which the world has never seen.
It's an interesting choice. 11.3. You do a couple of phone interviews that same afternoon, and the story continues to gain traction. You're featured on the Didn't Happen of the Year Awards Twitter account.
Wow.
Piers Morgan foams about you on Good Morning Britain.
That's good.
And you eventually find yourselves being invited onto the Today programme on Radio 4. Here you tell the story of Joe to a largely uninterested John Humphreys before getting a car home together.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
The next morning you awake to find several huge letters have been pushed under your door.
Huge letters.
You open them together to find that they are all lawsuits.
Oh.
The first is from your friend, the musician, who tells you that the track you're using for your intro music is not in fact rights-free,
It's not.
but is actually rights-free. The second is from Joe, whose name you forgot to change during the interview, who's now
sounds
suing you both
doubtful.
for libel and loss of earnings. And the third is from John Humphreys himself, simply for, quote, wasting his precious time.
God, what little he has left.
All told, the damages sought totals £20 million. You've had better mornings.
Maybe we check the Patreon and we've got...
Do you A, withdraw the Patreon money and use it to hire the best lawyer just about £1,000 can buy? You want to fight these charges and you're sure you can win. Go to 12.1.
Yeah.
Or go on the run. There's no way you can beat this, so you may as well spend your final days in hiding. You've always wanted to visit Siberia. Now,
Okay.
here's an important moment.
Oh, God.
This is your final choice.
Oh, no.
This is
That's a
it.
lot of pressure.
This is the culmination.
Okay. If I were to summarise the character that I've developed through the course of the experience, I'd say that they are a regal figure, ultimately, a kind of king, an emperor king, a god king, a god emperor.
Okay.
A kind of hero rules
That's
over
quite the title.
all in his purview, which is
All.
everything. Everything the light touches, as Mufasa
One
would
could say omnipotent.
One could say that, yeah. I wouldn't go that
You
far
just,
because
dance around it.
Yeah,
Because you don't want to make
You
such
don't
a
wanna-
flagrant
no, exactly.
comparison.
it's rather gauche. And I see in this character a great deal of myself, I've got to say. Because
That's weird. I mean, they were called Isaac. That was, I suppose,
Yeah,
just a quirk of the writing.
it's just random,
But,
isn't it?
yeah.
Well, it's just random,
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
And I know...
They're with two S's.
I
there.
know that what both of us would do in this situation is pursue, like those brave fighters before us, the legal right to continue to exist unimpeded by agitators like Giant Joe,
Yeah.
like Jacob, I write music, can you steal it, Rainbow? And I think for that reason, my final choice is to take it to court.
We go to 12.1.
Boo-doo-doo-doo.
Your lawyer, costing only £1,000, is a real Saul Goodman type. But the Saul
good.
Goodman type has an uncanny knack for winning cases.
Yeah.
In an intense and bitter trial that lasts for months on
I
end,
bet it's a hot trial.
the jury finally returns a verdict in your favour,
Yeah!
if only just.
Oh, okay.
You leave the courthouse and give a humble yet celebratory statement to the press. You announce that you will be returning home to work on reviving the podcast, perhaps using it to raise money for good causes, and maybe having a little fun along the way.
Yeah.
You are cheered into a waiting car, and you can't help but share a smile with your co-host as you speed through the London streets, back to the flat you call home. It's looking like the start of a brand new era for both of you.
Wow.
So you crack open a bottle of whiskey and pop some Sondheim on the sound system.
Sounds like me.
All seems well. Until
Oh.
friend and flatmate Mark enters the living room. He's delighted to see you both, of course.
Naturally.
Elated about the result, but his face is a little somber as he hands you another letter.
Oh, dear.
This came for you today, he says. before turning and leaving. You and your co-host share a confused and anxious glance before you tear open the letter in your characteristically haphazard manner. The shredded
I
envelope.
don't understand
The
envelopes.
shredded
That's
envelope
not my fault.
drops to
They
your,
don't work for me.
drops to your
'cause I'm
feet
left-handed.
as you unfold your fate and lift it to your eyes. It's Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs.
Oh no!
They're getting in touch because you failed to disclose the Patreon withdrawal on your self-assessment for last year, and as such are in serious breach of fundamental tax
We
laws.
got Wesley sniped.
There's no two ways about it, I'm afraid. You're going to the big prison for this, and you're going for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Sorry about that.
Well, down with the ship. You make your choices in
Yeah.
life. You forge your own path.
Now-
And sometimes revenue and customs catch up.
If you could have changed any decisions there, would you maybe...
No,
You wouldn't.
I wouldn't change a thing, because I think that's a life that maybe not appreciated in its time.
Yeah.
The Spielbergs of tomorrow will look back on the archive that remained and be like, "This is one of the greats." Not just film subjects, just one of the greats.
The greats, yeah.
And maybe there'd be a new Wikipedia list set up, and there would be just one
Oh,
person
that's
populating
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
And then maybe or the co-host would be like a seal. So
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
A footnote.
So sorry, by one of the greats, you don't mean the story, you meant you.
yeah, was that?
Sorry, no, I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. Well, I guess my story, because that's what it was. It was my story that you. Were
I've
reading.
just realised that, we've got that new favourite Wikipedia, that new favourite Twitter page.
Oh, yeah.
That's Wikipedia
Teenage.
pages that can be said to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme.
Yeah.
I've realised that Isaac H.P. Bernier Doyle
Oh, it
goes
works.
to that, doesn't it?
Perfect. Then
Wow.
it's meant to be. Yeah, I think. Why do you think? Were you going to suggest that I?
Well, no. Well, all I'm saying is, you had an unsealed fate there. You had a choice between two options, and
Yeah.
you chose the one that led to your frankly embarrassing.
Dumbledore got
Arrest.
pushed off a cliff to his death.
Yeah, but that was a heroic death. You just went down for
mine
tax fraud.
was very heroic,
No,
people will know that.
because also your co-host didn't withdraw the money, so he was fine.
No, he was off.
He was
scot-free.
off scot-free. It was just you.
I'd have him killed from in prison.
Well, what you did was you tried to have him blamed entirely. This is a bit of background, like J.K.
Yeah,
Rowling
I didn't
stuff.
see that in the.
We've only got a certain amount of time, haven't we?
In the text.
But basically, yeah, you tried to blame them so that they did it from your computer. But then you realised that, only while you were in the trial did you realise that ascribed to your co-host a level of technical ability that was frankly unprovable in a court of law. And you went down as not just a fraud, but a perjurer.
A liar, a
Yeah,
professional.
and they're actually down there with the paedophiles in prison.
Really?
So
The
you got
perjurers are.
Yeah,
What is
exactly.
it? Perjurers,
honor among
nonsense,
thieves,
forgerers. It's the most
Users.
bizarre crimes.
So you you got stabbed straight away. So you didn't have time to have me killed from prison.
I suppose that's quite heroic, though, being stabbed to death in the cell.
Is it?
Well-
do you think of that as a hero's death?
If you know that in your heart of hearts, bleeding out though you might be, that you fought the good fight.
But you didn't.
Then I think you die with a smile on your face.
You committed a crime and tried to blame it on your co-host.
Ah, well, life's a box of challenges. That much is sure.
Yeah,
Goodness me. Well, thank you for preparing
that's all right.
such a tale.
Thank you for choosing your own
Maybe
adventure.
as some bonus Patreon content this week or month, whatever
Yeah.
we live in, we could explore some of the side options and what could have been.
Oh, well, here's the cheat. There were no side options.
Oh, okay. All paths led to
All paths led to
me
the
being
final
in prison.
choice. Yeah. Each time, no matter what I said in terms of point 4, point 5, there's just one or two.
Uh-huh.
And if you choose the wrong option, it diverts you back to the right course.
okay.
Which was my cheat because
Otherwise it spirals.
it spirals so very quickly.
Yeah.
And I frankly didn't want too much of my hard work going unread on it. So
That's fair enough.
so I figured I'd get you to go
How-
touch up.
so-
But there were like 4 or 5 bits that you didn't go down.
Yeah, so maybe we can explore those.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're a patron over at patreon.com/ShameCity, where let me assure you, your funds are safe.
Your funds
From-
are safe.
From the government, from us. We can't touch them because the minute we do, HMRC's on our
Is
backs,
right in
asking
this
for
flat.
more tax than we can afford to pay. So there they will remain.
Yeah.
Yeah, get over there on Patreon and we'll put them out in a quick fire. Hell of an episode, I think. Episode
think
150.
so.
Have you got any reflections on what the next 50 will bring? Because we are now setting our course. That's
For
me wrenching
200.
the steering wheel round to 200.
I think it's going to be a hugely experimental time for
It
TAS.
seems to be in a kind of state of flux bordering on teetering on the edge of cancellation. It's on that kind of first season knife edge.
Yeah, well, and I feel that that's an exciting energy for
It
the
is
show to have.
exciting.
It's much better content than when we were in the kind of
Comfortable.
pedestrian season 4 of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Just chat about the
No,
car.
so you're
kind
saying
of
we're in
vibe.
Young Sheldon vibes?
Oh, I wouldn't.
Yes, please.
I wouldn't deign to classify us so grandly.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I think that we've in the last sort of 20 or so episodes, we've
Yeah.
started to really broaden the horizons of what we're willing to do and just how low we're willing to
God, it's
go for
and
content.
Let me be honest, it's very low.
Yeah,
it's
lower than
super
I
low.
thought I would reasonably.
Subterranean.
We've scraped the bottom of the barrel. We've broken through.
Yeah,
we're in the very
we're in the
earth
mantle.
herself.
God.
So I feel like this is going to be a real wild make or break 50.
Yeah, I think you might be right, and I think it will be like you say. It's one that we'll either look back on and be like, "God, that got us where we were." That energy, or there will be no looking back to be done.
No, because we'll be dead.
dead or in prison.
Yeah.
And isn't that a fate worse than death?
Yes.
To have your
It-
freedom
well, it is.
stripped from you.
Much.
To be stabbed by a perjurer or a nonce. Imagine getting
One and the
stabbed
same in
by a
prison.
nonce in prison.
God, that is
That
bad.
would be the worst.
and them cheering.
All of them.
Everyone, everyone else.
Get out.
You're so bad, you've made them cheer for the nonce. That is low.
That sounds like a sort of long-winded Shakespearean. Cool, okay. Well, let's see how that pans out.
It's exciting.
I think we were discussing off air, and we'll continue to do so, that the vibe, the show we think is all right at the moment,
Yeah.
when it's out, the vibe around it, which is entirely a product of us, is lacking.
Yes.
But that is because we no longer do anything. And I won't qualify that because that is the end of the sentence.
So
We're going to do some more like Twitter outreach, I think.
Yes, I
and
think
maybe
so,
just
definitely.
maybe we'll try and find maybe just one new listener before the end of the
that'd be cool.
the life that we
That'd be
lead.
interesting.
Or we could aim for like one new person. I might just start like, what if we just wrote a load of postcards to people?
To random addresses.
Yeah, just like, why not? Can they arrest
Shall
you
I
for
like
that? Is that-
siphon? Shall I like siphon off some addresses from
Yeah.
my new job? We can write them all.
That's GPDR compliant. I'm sure of it.
I've done the course, and I'm pretty sure I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
We'll get some bank details.
Yeah, well, you need to be sure that it's a proper person and not just a dummy address.
Precisely.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes. Any feedback about anything, as always, tass@shame.city. Here's a little fun fact. I just upgraded the contact form on our site.
Wow.
So you don't even have to tick a capture box anymore because Google just knows now. They just know.
We're so desperate. We're happy for robots to write to us.
I'm encouraging. I've signed this
Yeah.
up to so much spam. You won't even believe what hit you.
Yeah, and JLo, if you're out there, if you need another
Get back
quick
in
hit of
touch.
cash, you know where your lads.
Ready to give, JLo. Until episode 151, pleasingly palindromic.
For which you will be bringing the content.
I'll be bringing something because I'll be away until the very last moment of doing that,
Oh, that is good.
show. So we'll have some energy, that's for sure. Until then, I've been Isaac. You've been.
I've been Declan.
Here's to another 50 eps.
Bye, guys.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature. nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to you.